Welcome back. Joining us on the show now is Himanshu Agrawal. He's MD at Satyam Balajee Group. Himanshu, hi, good to have you. And clearly the government has its eyes set on ensuring that the retail or the consumers get fair price or lower prices for many of these essential commodities. We've seen that happen in wheat and sugar and pulses, and rice continues to get more and more curbs there. But the latest meeting that we hear happened in this week itself, where the Department of Food and Public Distribution clearly has conveyed to the retail market that the prices to consumers need to be corrected. How have you looked at the excerpts from this meeting?
Hi, Manisha ji. So the way I look at this meeting is actually a chicken and egg sort of a story, wherein the department on the one side is concerned about the rising prices, but on the other side, there have been an exceptional increase in the MSP and the bonuses that has been declared by the state governments and the central government, putting immense upward pressure on the paddy prices, which in turn is resulting into the high prices in the retail's front. The export has absolutely been curbed by the central government. We have seen that apart from the parboiled rice, none of the other grades are being allowed to export. And we have seen that still the prices have maintained their ground and have not softened the way it should have, because of the one simple fact that we see the paddy prices being highest that we have ever seen. So unless government rethinks on their strategy on how they want to subsidize the farmers, I see it very difficult for the government to control these prices, because, I mean, if the raw material is on a higher side, how would you expect the final product to be on the lower side?
We also do understand that the government has put out concerns that the wholesale prices are much lower, but by the time it reaches the retail or the consumers is much higher. There also is this concern about profiteering somewhere in the middle. How have you seen that?
So if you see, the majority, 80% of the population of a country is actually being fed by the PDS scheme that the government have in place. So they are getting enough rice that can last on a month-on-month basis by the central government and the state government. This profiteering or so-called stocking can only be applicable for a very small percentage of non-basmati rice that goes into the market, such as Sona Masuri or HMT. Apart from that, the public distribution is putting in enough flows in the market at a very subsidized rates for the people to be fed. So that really isn't a concern. So it's a very, very small and a very niche market of Sona Masuri, HMT and these guys who you may see as being profiteering in this market. Otherwise, because the exports are also not flowing the way it used to in last one decade or so, so there's no reason for people to stock the cargo at this situation. And as you see the FCI numbers, you may have seen a certain decline in the FCI targets of procurement, but that's only because of the state elections. The procurements have slightly delayed. So in coming days, you would see those numbers coming back into the market, and you would see that FCI will 55 million tons is what their target. They should be able to achieve that quite comfortably.
Himanshu, also with the sales scheme from FCI at 29 rupees a kg, and as you said, the procurements will pick up, and would that also mean that the older stock would then come into the markets? Is there a calculation that industry is doing in sense of how much FCI could offload in the markets as well?
So as I said, the 80% of the population being fed up by the PDS and the PMGKY scheme that government has in place. So who would be these people who would buy 29 rupees a kg when they are able to get the rice at about 10, 12 rupees a kg by state government or central government? So normally in OMSS scheme, historically, if you see, it is always picked up by the exporters, but now that the exports are curved, so I don't see anyone going and falling back into buying this 29 rupees OMSS scheme, and it has never really been a success. I mean, either the government does an open tender wherein they don't keep a floor price for these auctions, or else I don't see any reason why someone would pick up rice at this price.
So with the rice situation getting slightly better, I mean, we've been talking about on how the crop has been great, the procurement will be slightly on the better side. The buffer stock with Food Corporation of India is also on the higher side. The government, of course, is concerned about the prices from what they are to what the consumers pay. Of course, that is something that all commodities perhaps bear a brunt of. But what does it all mean for the industry as it stands?
So for the industry, I would say that government, we have to be very, very cautious on how government plans to reinstall the export policies and how government plans to, how they approach the Rabi crop and how they would, these freebies that are being given, which are very farmer centric, because we know it's an election year, which is very obvious. So we would see that, how it translates into following crops for the industry to revive in per se, because if you talk about the rice manufacturing sectors, which is central India and a bit of South India, where it's more concentrated, it's the parity has been a big question mark. There is no feasibility for the rice millers to operate, and even after that, we don't see paddy softening because government is procuring paddy at a very, very high price in all the paddy producing states. So unless we see a change in stance from the government, it's very difficult to say that this industry is going to flourish in coming few months. It's going to be a very tight grip industry because we don't see a lot of flows happening and we don't see a lot of business opportunity coming our way. It's going to be either custom milling, which is just a job work for the government.
Right, Mr. Agrawal, thank you so much for joining in. There's so much talk of rice, Manisha. I think we should take a short break while we grab our bowls of rice, and you stay tuned to Business Lunch, which comes up right after this.